I will admit that I listened to the 2021 infrastructure for changelog.com episode, and you kind of enumerated that in the past, I think it was 6 months before that, you had kind of said, we're moving to Kubernetes to do this. And folks had said, you're running a, NGINX server, a Phoenix web app, and a MySQL database or a Postgres database, I believe you said. And you got a little bit of pushback on moving to Kubernetes because folks said, you don't have a microservice architecture. Why are you doing that? And I love how in that episode you went through and said, well, there's all of these kind of hidden dependencies that we have. I believe you mentioned certificates, CDN, CI/CD, monitoring, all of those things. And as someone who's worked on Crossplane for a significant period of time now, that was really music to my ears. So getting to your specific question, I do know that there is a provider Linode that is very early on, but does exist, and I believe is usable. So that's one side of it. Getting to things like CDN, that's absolutely in scope for Crossplane. So you mentioned, that's a little different from other infrastructure as a service. Well, we have providers for all types of things. And in that cloud native platform that Jared was just mentioning, it makes use of a really important provider that I want to bring up and also a newer provider that just landed that I think would be useful. The first one is provider Helm. So what Jared's talking about is provisioning Kubernetes clusters and then provisioning Helm charts into them, but that being a single package, right? So you create your changelog.com instance as a Kubernetes object. Behind the scenes, that spins up a Kubernetes cluster. Maybe it installs Linkerd into it. I know y'all had some issues with measuring latency on some requests. It puts your Phoenix app in there, NGINX, whatever else you need. It also spins up your managed Postgres instance on your cloud provider of choice, unless if I know you mentioned that y'all might want to continue running that in cluster, but as you alluded to, and many folks like Kelsey Hightower have said, that's definitely something that we would encourage you to look into managed offerings for. So you can include that all in a single package. And just recently, one of my coworkers, Jared and I's coworkers at Upbound and a contributor to the Crossplane project who's worked on a lot of provider Helm, just created a new provider called Provider Kubernetes. So if you don't want to use Helm as your abstraction, you can actually now create Kubernetes objects directly into both the cluster that Crossplane is running in, as well as any tenant clusters you spin up. So I think altogether, we're going to have a lot of pieces for exactly what you want to do. And something that would be really exciting to me is, y'all might create a template or a configuration package for deploying a Phoenix web app. And someone else might come along and see that in the registry and say, I also have a Phoenix web app with these components. Let me just put in the other bits I need to be able to provision my website. And you can share that and, it can be verified and go through our conformance testing and that sort of thing and be available to others. So I think you're on the exact right track.